Using NgForOf directive. The NgForOf directive is a structural directive that is used primarily for rendering items in a collection. In Angular, you'll be using arrays most of the time. And this is synonymous to the for-of loop in the JavaScript version ES6. Like the ngIf, ngFor is also coming in two forms, the shorthand and the expanded form. And they're also used as an attribute on the tag. So for the expanded form, you see that you also attach that to a tag such as an ngContainer or an ngTemplate. Let's look at the syntax. So on the right side, you see the for-of loop in JavaScript. On the left side are the two versions, the shorthand and the expanded forms. As you can see, the ngFor is attached to a li tag in the shorthand form, and the expanded form is attached to an outer tag, in this case the ngTemplate, and it follows by the li as a tag inside the container. So this is actually the synonymous versions. So when Angular runs the shorthand version, it actually compiles it and converts that to the expanded version you see down below. This ngFor directive has some really important values that you can use them as alias in your code. Let's take a look at them. So here on the right side, we have these exported values that this function or this ngForOf function will export and you can use. The first two are just numeric values. The index is the current index number being used or being exported for each iteration. So the index starting from 0 up to n, right? The count just gives you the total count of that item or of the list of that list. The first, last, even, odd, these are all Boolean values, and they will tell you either they are true or false based on those conditions. The first item will be, if it's the first item in the list, it's true, and then last, if it's the last item in the list. These are some really useful values you can use to check your code. And the even, odd here are, just remember, they are not representing the values of the item, but the values of the index, okay? Because the values of the item can be a string, right? So if the even index, then the even will be true. If it's an odd index, the odd will be true, and you can use those to do something in your code. So here in the shorthand version, you'll see how it's used. The index, which is the exported value, and you have to use it as an alias in order to access it. So as I, you can use I in your code like so. And the expanded version is a little bit different. You say let with a dash, then followed by the name of the variable equal to the exported values. You can use that in your code as well. So let's go and see how this is done in the code. All right, so here we are. Just make sure your app is running. And I'm going to open the add component template and add component TS for the source. So let's say we're going to modify these nums, add some more values to it, and just make here like 25. 33, 40, and maybe 56 or something, okay? And then let's go and render that to the view. Over here, I'm going to create a new set of div. And inside here, let me just kind of clean up here. I'll use just a paragraph tag for this one here. Inside will be some code. And here you use the star ngFor. And notice I'm not using ngForOf. And then equal, you have to use the word let, a variable. In this case, it'll be just say n. Let's call num of nums, okay? And if you just do that, then that's fine. We can print it out. But I also want to get the index, so you put a semicolon here. Again, just make sure it's still within the parentheses. Brackets, quotes. I'm sorry. And you will use as an alias. So the index as I in this case. If you want to get the total count in this list, you can do that too. You can say count as total, right? And you can check for even odd numbers. You can put here even as the same name, maybe even, and then odd as odd if you want to get all of those, right? And first and last and so forth. So I'm just going to use those here. And let's expand this. Okay, let's save that. And then inside here, then I'll render the I for the counter, and the index will be 0. So you want a +1 to get the correct number to show that one here. And it will display the actual item here, which is the number. Okay. And we'll see how that looks first, and we'll modify it to make it a little bit nicer. But for now, let's just say I'm going to run it just like that, and go to the browser. So here we go. We have it right here. As you can see, the index, we add 1 to it. So otherwise, it would be 0, 1, 2, and 3. But we started with 1, 2, and 3. And these are the actual values here. I did not put the count here. We should also want to display that. It would display 6 as the total count. So you can easily do that. Well, if we do that, it's going to do that every time. But you can display it somewhere else. So I'm not going to do that here. It will just look weird. Okay, so let's do something a little bit interesting here. And let's say I'm going to put this inside a table instead. All right. So I'm going to do a little bit fun here. And we'll put this as a TD. Well, each of these will be a TR, right? So let's put this in. Let's copy it and put it in here. Sorry. And we'll change this to a TR. And because we're going to render the TR along with it, right? And then inside the TR, you're going to have a TD. So this will be the TD. So this will be inside the TD. I'll put this as the first column. And I have another column for the actual value. So we have a table that looks something like that. And just to make it interesting, we can style it so that if it's an even number, we will make the stripe, right? So the first one here, well, I mean for this TR, TD, well, you know what? Let's do it this way. Let's put here a ng container, okay? The container will not get rendered. We'll just use it to do our loop here. And inside this container, we have the TR. Makes more sense this way. So it takes a little bit of designing here. So I'll put that inside here. And then my TDs goes in here. So I will say this will stay as they are. And then for the TR, I want to say something like this. I use the NgIf. NgIf. If it's an even number, right, then we want to show something. Otherwise, do something else. So how do we do that? Well, maybe not this way. If you do this way, that means it will render only the even numbers. Okay, just to show you that is true, we can just run this for now. So all the even numbers will run, all the odd will not be run. So let's save this and see what that looks like in the browser. As you can see, all the even index will be run. Here we show the index of the odd numbers because we added 1 to it. Otherwise, it'll be 0 and then 2 and 4, right? And the 1, 3, and 5 will not be rendered. So we only show what's true in the if block. But let's show all of them and we'll style it with a different color background. So I won't use the NgIf. Instead, I will use the style. We'll lock the style with, okay, we'll bind that to style. And we'll check a condition here. You can use the conditional operator here. If it's even, if that is true, right, then show the green background. Else show the red background. And we have the red and green style rules already, right? So if you go back and run it again, you see that it's green back, but this is just a color, right? If you make it nice, you can make it so that you can style it. Back in here, we can change it to say background color instead of that just a color. And we'll make the color. So we got a color there, green and red. And then here, I'm going to style a little bit different as well. I want to make it, I'm going to add, you can add more style. This time you cannot, I won't bind it. Because if you bind it, then only the last one is bound, either this way or the other way, I showed you earlier, will be run. But if you just choose a regular style, then it will just apply to add all of them together. So we got the background. Let's say I want the color to be white, because if it's black and red, it's hard to see. So we want that to be white. And we want that text align to be center, okay? We just do that. And then for the TDs, we want to add another style. I want to just add maybe a width of, say, 100 pixels. Yeah, this is a 50 for this, the first column, the second. I'm just using simple inline style. Let's put 100 here. Okay, so let's see what this looks like in the view. So there you go. We have it so that now the first row, if it's even, then we put green. Otherwise, if it's odd, it'll be red and so on. So that's how you would use it to, you know, iterate through a list of arrays. And the array, we did something really simple here. And we'll do one more and then we'll be done with this video. So let's say I'm going to add 2 buttons over here. All right, don't just make it a little nice. Right above the table here, I'm going to put a button, and this is like the plus, just with the plus here. And then I'll put here another button. Well, let's do the one first. I'm just going to copy and paste it. I'm going to attach to a click event, and this can be bound to a function called increment. We'll create that in a minute. Let's duplicate that, Alt Shift down, and this would be the decrement for decreasing, right? And when I increment or decrement, I'm going to update my nums array. I'm going to pop it and then push it to the array some random numbers, okay? And then it will update this table automatically. So pretty cool stuff, right? So let's go and create the functions for the methods there. So I'm going to go here. I'll have a function called increment. And then this function will generate a random number. We'll assign this to this.nums. I'm going to push to this array a math random number. So math.floor, a math.random, a number between that and 100. Okay, you add that to, you push that to the nums. And then we'll also do another one here. I'm just going to copy this, put it down here. This is the decrease or decrement. And we'll do, now here we just pop it out. Pop the last one basically. And we don't have any parameters in here. Okay, so as you can see, when I click these 2 functions, it's going to update the nums array. And when that's been updated, then it's going to also update the table here as well as we go. And at the same time, it's going to check for an even odd number of the index. You can do more. You can say, if the actual value is a even number, then you do something. If it's odd number, or if it's divisible by something, right? Just for fun. But you can do a lot of stuff. So let's go to the view here. The table is kind of small, but that's fine. So you can say, I click a plus. You see it grows automatically, right? And again, my random numbers generated. And if I decrease it, if I do it again, so there we go. It's pretty cool stuff. And so that's how you would use the NG4 to iterate through a list of items. And in the next video, we'll take a look at the Angular modules.